Celebrate Amy. Okay, so I want to clear up any confusion at the very top. In your program, it says that the co-MCs are Tracy Kato Kiriyama and Mike Songsen. I am not Tracy Kato Kiriyama, in case you were confused. I'm going to try to clone her energy, which is very hard to do, but unfortunately, COVID has hit a couple of our people. Tracy has COVID, and another person, Naomi Hirahara, who is supposed to be with us today, also has COVID. But you know what? Amy's spirit is with us. We are going to carry on, and it's a celebration of life. So we will celebrate in the best way. And I want to say some words on behalf of the planning committee, whose names you'll see in the program. But I think it was really a labor of love for the planning committee, and all of us in different ways, maybe I speak for myself, learned so many new things about Amy, or appreciated Amy so much more by working on this program today. And I was one of Amy's students. I knew her actually from the 70s. Everybody knew who Amy was. I never got to know her that well until I became her student in about 2015, and among other older sansei that were picking up writing after we retired. So I really appreciate Amy, and all of us know her kindness, her gentleness, her steadiness, her fire. And she might have been nervous today about what was going on and all the different changes we had, but we would have said to her, oh, calm down, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. And so we're just telling ourselves, it's going to be okay. And I'm going to say a little bit about Mike Songsen, who is the co-MC, a very good friend of Amy's. He knew both Amy and Tracy Kato Kiriyama very well. He organized 2 tributes for Amy over the last, well, definitely one in the last year and before that as well, which was very special to Amy. And you can say a little more about yourself, Mike.
Thank you, Kathy. Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Songsen. In the early 2000s, I read a poem from Amy from this book, Nights of Fire, Nights of Rain, the 10 Million Flames of Los Angeles, that just really inspired me. And I was reading Amy for several years before I ever had a chance to meet her. And when I met her somewhere maybe 15 years ago, her kindness was equal to her incredible poetry. And over the last several years, over the last 10 plus years, we, through a number of readings where we featured Amy, and little by little I got to know her. But at that same time, I was becoming an educator, becoming a parent, becoming a professor. And Amy was a huge influence on me, and taught me how to balance it all out, taught me that you can be a parent and a poet and a teacher. And so Amy has been a major inspiration to me. And so I'm just honored to be here, and we're going to celebrate Amy.
Okay, maybe everyone should take a deep breath and, and think about Amy, and as Raul says, our beautiful Amy. So we're going to read about her, and it's in your, everybody received this beautiful booklet that was put together by a couple of people in our planning committee, Ann Colburn and Margie Lee and another person. So we're going to read this. You can follow along. Amy Uyematsu was a remarkable poet, and as a sansei, a third-generation Japanese American, a fierce advocate for the Asian American community. She graduated from UCLA with a degree in mathematics and a commitment to her Asian American history. She passionately embraced her identity, influenced by the theories of the Black Power movement, and articulated the emergence of Asian American identity in her powerful essay, The Emergence of Yellow Power in America. Armed also with her math degree, Amy affected countless lives as a public high school math teacher in Los Angeles for more than 3 decades. Throughout her life, Amy championed racial pride, economic empowerment, and the establishment of political and cultural institutions that would uplift and validate the experience of Asian Americans in the United States.
Amy's poetry reveals a profound connection to her Japanese American heritage and a steadfast commitment to addressing racism and social inequities. Her first book, 30 Miles from J-Town. Hey, make some noise for 30 Miles from J-Town, folks, real quick. Let's make some noise. Lee Herrick and I have spoke about that book, and that's just an incredible book. Garnered the prestigious Nicholas Roerich Poetry Prize in 1992, marking the beginning of a literary journey that would touch the hearts and minds of readers everywhere. Just recently, Amy was collaborating with a group of French translators working to publish her poems in French. Amy's poetry is a tapestry that interweaves politics, mathematics, love, spirituality, and the natural world. Her words have the power to inspire introspection, provoke thought, ignite change, and also acknowledge humor and love in our lives. Through her writing, she illuminates the experiences of the Japanese American community and contributes invaluably to their literary heritage. Equally important is Amy's dedication to her family, her mother, Elsie Uyematsu Osijima, her husband, Raul Contreras, my man Raul, yeah, her son, Chris, hey Chris, good to see you, daughter-in-law, Corinne, grandsons Tyler and Mason. Each of their lives has been enhanced and enlightened by the remarkable spirit Amy Uyematsu embodied. Her legacy as a poet, educator, and advocate will continue to resonate, reminding us of the importance of fighting for social justice and using the written word as a tool for transformation. Okay, folks, well, you know what? We are going to bring up our first speaker of the day, okay? We're bringing up the California Poet Laureate. This man was the first Asian American to serve in that role. Lee Herrick's writing has appeared widely in literary magazines, textbooks, and anthologies, such as Here, Poems from the Planet with an introduction by the Dalai Lama, Indivisible, Poems of Social Justice with an introduction by Common, and Dear America, Letters of Hope, Habitat, Defiance, and Democracy, among others. Lee currently teaches at Fresno City College and the MFA program at the University of Nevada, Reno at Lake Tahoe. He's been very close with Amy for a long time, and he's going to tell you all about it. Please, without further ado, make some noise for Mr. Lee Herrick.
I am deeply humbled to be here, and thank you for inviting me. Raul, and to the whole family, my heart is with you. I met Amy about 25 years ago in 1998 in Fresno, right when her second book came out, Nights of Fire, Nights of Rain. And at that time, I was just beginning to dream about writing poetry in a serious way. And I don't know that I had met another Asian American poet before, at least not one like Amy. I had just moved to Fresno, and she was reading at a small bookstore, and I was so nervous. Here's Amy Uyematsu, and I already knew of her from her first book, 30 Miles from J-Town. And I waited, and I finally mustered the courage to go up and ask her to sign my copy. And she was so kind, so encouraging, and quite frankly, that day changed my life. Amy, as all of you I'm sure know, in many cases far more than I do, she was strong, fierce, proud to be Asian American, proud to be Japanese American. She was also tender. She was a fighter, and I think she was one of the great poets of our time. She's a quintessential Los Angeles poet, a quintessential California and American poet, and as that poster says over there, I agree with, she is an American icon, in my opinion. We became good friends. Amy was, at least with me, we would exchange letters, and once she wrote me a letter because she had seen a poem of mine, and she wrote some very nice things, and I pinned it on my office wall, and I kept it there, and I would show people, I got a letter from Amy Uyematsu. And then it turned into Christmas cards, and she was so proud of the grandsons, Tyler and Mason. So it was through that experience we became friends. And I was speaking with Raul recently, and said I could share these stories, telling me about her love of purple flowers, which I believe you may see on your table, and how she's looking down on him now, looking after him. And he told me about a time, one of the many events, where she drew audiences, but there was one particular event at San Diego State where this flock of Asian American women and girls just rushed up to the book signing table afterwards, and it was that kind of impact that she had, not only on people from those backgrounds, but poets from all walks of life. And I know you know this, but Amy's reach was far and wide, far and wide. And for me, as a Korean adoptee, raised in a white family with whom I'm close, but where I did not have a lot of Asian American models, Amy is central in my life. Amy's with me at every reading I do, her spirit, and her example and friendship meant the world to me. You are a dear and beautiful light, Amy, and you will always be remembered. I'm going to read my favorite poem of hers. It captures a little bit of that fire and justice, and also her love of nature and of family. So this is from her book, Stone Bow Prayer. This is Amy's poem, Purple Like Iris. I chose Cisco Kid, Tonto, and men dressed in black. I cheered the loudest when the Indians attacked. I chose loners, despising cliques at every age, but secretly hoping one day I'd get picked. I chose revolution, not evolution. I carried the red book, Soul on Ice, quoted from Paulo Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed. I knew the meaning of dialectical materialism. Once, I held my husband hostage for having no opinion. Once, a lover who wronged me said, I take no prisoners. I took sides like a junkie until I could see they both cared about winning, no matter the cost. And when I chose to give up the battle, a voice inside was still calling my name. I always chose the romantic ending, listened to torch songs long before I'd ever died of longing. I took my cues from the moon. I chose saxophone and cha-cha, sipped scotch on the rocks, lounged on the shade of June afternoons, slowly chewing the skin of a Japanese plum. I chose purple for my bridesmaids when the custom was pastel. I wanted the alchemy of two hearts, but kept ending up with just one. I chose that's not fair as my stubborn refrain. The sky would rise bluer than gorgeous, just to jeer me on. I chose the wisdom of woman, mom over dad, even when she hurt him. All the mothers of soldiers who never come back, and the grandma who made my favorite rice balls, though she forgot to add wine to sweeten the vinegar. How much I've relied on the kindred blessings of goddess, witch, and crone. I chose stone over grass, fish over bear, trusted hands that can make things grow from cotton, clay, and seed. I chose poetry because she spoke to me so lovingly, the way my whole world quieted to hear. Amy Uyematsu.
Thank you, Lee. We're going to be treated to some more poetry. Mia Uetake will be reading some more poems. Mia Uetake's lifelong cultural and political activism are reflected in her poetry, writing, radio programs, and community projects. A 60s, 70s Asian movement activist, warrior for justice and reparations, producer of KPFK Radio's East Wind, was also an architect for the diversity and cultural competency infrastructure for the LA County Health Department. She is a member of Nikkei Progressives, NCRR, and the National Nikkei Reparations Coalition fighting to win Black reparations today. She is also a lifetime student with Amy's writing group in Little Tokyo, the Women Word Warriors. So Mia, come on up and let us know what you're going to read.
Why did I have to follow Lee? Well, thank you, Raul and Chris and family. Amy was a dear friend, a righteous sister, but her superpower was as a poetry sensei. She was my poetry mentor, and she brought back the love of writing into my life. And in my 6 minutes, I wanted to read as many poems of hers as I could. Her range was amazing. In The Sign Closed for Business, in her book, Yellow Door, she writes with emotion and insight about Issei, Nisei, and camp. Word got around, order tofu and sugar from the Morita Grocery Company, Grandpa Jiro's store on wheels. On Saturdays, he serviced the entire San Gabriel Valley from Rosemead to San Marino, bringing rice and milk to Issei farmers who had no time to drive into Little Tokyo. When Jiro delivered food in his pickup truck, he'd bring my young mother, then 5 or 6, to keep him company. At each stop, they'd meet a busy wife, just enough time to gossip a little, scribble the next week's order. Grandpa was popular with everyone on his route, and when they got home, a suspicious grandma checked his shirt for lipstick. After Pearl Harbor, the Moritos were sent on a train to Gila Relocation Camp, built on Gila River Indian Reservation land. Though Grandpa Jiro loved to tell stories, he didn't talk about camp. And when Grandpa came back in '46, the closed for business sign was gone. So was his store and all those Issei farms waiting for his visit. Amy loved her family, and she spoke with such deep love about her mother and child. This is the separation in her book, Nights of Fire, Nights of Rain. Tonight, I didn't expect that familiar pain in my breasts, a fullness I used to feel just before his next feeding. Only now, my child is almost a man. We argued and shouted again yesterday. He said I didn't listen to him, accused me of not trusting what he says. It's been a long time since he let himself cry in front of me. His tears came from a place only he could know, the same way he cried when his father moved away, back trembling like a small animal. I was frightened. When he was 6, he drew a picture of a desert. There's an armadillo, a thin brown mouse, bull with black horns, and a prehistoric dog that laughs. One yellow striped snake wiggles next to a horse with pink hair, and every cactus stands sturdy with wide open arms. The head of a rhinoceros peeks out behind a jagged cliff, while 3 birds keep rising into a white morning sky. Though we had never visited this desert, my young child already knew its activity. Later, when I took him to a New Mexico desert, he didn't want to draw. His teachers at school had shown him what real art looks like. And no matter what I said, he believed them. Sometimes a mother turns her back for only seconds, but her baby has already found matches, been abducted by strangers. Now, my son copies dragons and airplanes from books and photographs, and I know I am part of that betrayal. Raul brought this poem to me. I think he said it was her last poem. Ode to Asian Sisters on the 50th anniversary of Theta Kappa Phi, UCLA. To those that come before us, those not of legend but local fame, our mothers and grandmothers, farmers, laundry workers, cooks, immigrants who came to Angel Island, Hawaiian plantations, Central Valley fields. Women who made the streets of Chinatown, Little Tokyo, Koreatown, Little Saigon, Manila Town buzz sweetly with talk story, gossip, and song. Women who sacrificed so much for their husbands and children, a strength passed on from earliest times, mothers to daughters, sisters, and friends. To those who shine light into our American history, leaders like Yuri Kochiyama, Grace Lee Boggs, Angela Oh, fighting for civil rights in Harlem, Detroit, and LA. Artists like Maya Lin with her Monument to Peace, or Janice Marikitani, whose poems tell our real story. Fearless mothers who stand up. Lily Chin, whose son Vincent was clubbed to death by angry auto workers. Or the mother of Aaron Motada, speaking from coast to coast in support of her son's refusal to fight in Iraq. To those who have touched the lives of women in this room, women like my Nisei mother, imprisoned in Gila Desert, telling me what it was like to be sent away on a train. Or young Margaret O'Hara, who, denied entrance into UCLA's Greek sororities, helped found Theta Kappa Phi. Or Theta alumna Karen Ito, who was the first at UCLA to teach the landmark course, Asian Women in America. To all these women warriors, we give thanks. To all our generations of sisters, may we grow ever closer in spirit. And we will for you, Amy.
Thank you, Mia. I think those poems spoke to many of us who may be mothers, and also to many of us that remember the times that Amy wrote about, and especially the women in this room. Now, Tracy was going to read a few poems too today, and she's very, very sad that she's not here, of course, because she loved Amy so much. But we are going to ask Jude Narita to come up and read one of the poems that is very meaningful for today, and Tracy asked that that be read. So, Jude Narita is an award-winning actress, the first Asian American woman solo performer who wrote five solo performances, and her award-winning play was Coming into Passion, if some of you remember that. And she was a friend of Amy's in POW, which I forget stands for Pacific Asian Women Writers West, something like that. And but Jude is also in her own right a great contributor to the community, has read her poetry and performed many of her plays in our Day of Remembrances and for community events. So we thank Jude.
Amy was such a sweet person, but there was something a little bit West Side about her, and, and it would be reflected in some of her poems. But I really like that little element of bad girl or something that was just in her, even though she was so sweet and her demeanor was so soft. Every so often you would see a flash of it. Oh, what? Oh, sorry. Thank you. So I'm honored to read this. When it is time, my choice will be ashes, no gravesite to visit, no fossil evidence that I was here. I do ask that you offer me to the mountain, boulders, ocean, pebbles, and river rock. Nothing so brilliant as ruby and sapphire, or those celestial stones that fill the night sky. Return me to the ordinary granite, a mere fistful of fire and wind and blood's history within. And if I am nothing more than a story, I tell myself that I was born yearning. My eyes knew the steady green of pine needles, the boundless blue of a nearby sea. My ear remained close to the ground, no heaven in each echoing pulse of silence. I can say I belonged to the wordless chorus rising and grateful from a mute stone song. Amy. She was so amazing.
Hey, please keep it going for Jude, please, one more time. Our next presentation is actually a video. Peter Levitt. Peter Levitt is a poet and translator. He is also the founder and leader of the Salt Spring Zen Circle in the Soto Zen lineage of Shunryu Suzuki Roshi. He lives in Canada on the Salt Spring Island, British Columbia. Amy was one of Peter's first students in his poetry workshop that Peter started in the mid-'80s. He encouraged Amy to publish her work. Thank you, Peter, for that. Yeah, and helped to edit her 6 books of poetry. Most importantly, they were dear friends. Please watch Peter Levitt on video.
I wish I was there in person so I could say it's good to see you, but it's good to be with you. It's such an honor and a treasure, really, though I have to admit it, it's a sad one, to talk about my beloved friend and a student who I knew for 40 years. So I want to thank you, Chris and Raul, so much for giving me this opportunity. I decided to sit in front of this calligraphy of what's called the Heart Suture, the Hana Shingyo in Zen, since the heart is really what today is all about, our heart for Amy and Amy's heart for us through the way she lived and her poetry. And also because it was made and it was given to me by a dear friend, Mayumi Oda, who's known as the Matisse of Japan. And Amy loved her paintings. She really loved them, especially the goddess paintings that the Mayumi made. So I thought that Amy would be pleased to have Mayumi's presence today. I called Amy Amy-chan. Well, that was a term of endearment that we shared for each other. She was Amy-chan to me, and she called me Peter-chan. Now, chan is a Japanese word that we added to our names that really always expressed just in a quiet, personal way how dear we were to each other, and we certainly were that. It sort of expressed how much tenderness we felt for each other and how family-like really our relationship was as it developed over those 40 years. So this peek at our Amy is from a chapter in this book. And the chapter is called When the Stone Woman Dances, the Mute Bird Sings. And Amy-chan really knew how to dance her life and kick free any of the stuck, hard, or stony places, both in herself and in others, through her poetry, and how to really set free those mute birds that she heard deep inside of herself, or the culture at large, that were begging to be given a voice, to be released freely into the world, so they could sing in her poetry and be known. And it was one of the ways that she made sure that her poetry actually helped our world. So let me read this from When the Stone Woman Dances, the Mute Bird Sings. I have a friend, a poet, and sometimes we quote, talk poetry. That was actually Amy's phrase, we talk poetry. And like many other people, she is someone who feels a special connection to stones. Those of you who know her well know that that's true. And when she holds certain stones in her hand, she does so with what she describes as a feeling of reverence. One day, after eating at Hide, one day we were talking about this part of her creative and spiritual life because she often includes stones in her poetry. And she said that the experience of reverence comes quite naturally to her because she feels as if the stones she holds are grandmothers or grandfathers, or sometimes they are children. They are stone people, very ancient, she said on one of our walks. Even the ones I come to realize are children after I've been with them a while. I can tell you that she means every word of this, and I can also tell you from walking with her many times over the years that she searches for stones wherever she goes in case one might be calling to her. How do they call you? I once asked. We were on one of our walks. Oh, they call to me with their silence. The silence of a stone is its voice, she said. And how do you hear them if they speak with silence? I asked her. I hear them with my whole body and mind. Usually I begin to hear a stone calling with the first glance of my eye. As you can see, talking poetry is a wonderful language, especially when our senses are set free from their usual limitations and boundaries, and we can hear with our eyes or see with the sensitive touch of our fingers and our hands. But then, she said, very quickly, as my glance turns to seeing alone, and the stone's color and shape fill my eye, its voice moves through me and through my entire body, like the sound of an organ filling a cathedral, except the music the stone plays is its silence. That's what she said. It's very erotic, really, very sexy, she said, and she smiled. When this happens, I feel a kind of warmth, she went on, or the promise of that warmth all through me, and I pick up the stone and hold it because my hand understands the silence of a stone in a way that sometimes makes me cry. It's in their weight and the way their shape fits my palm. That's how stones really speak to us, you know. And she gave me a conspiratorial smile. I think many of us know what my friend is saying, even if we don't talk poetry on a regular basis. Maybe we don't know it about stones precisely, but there is an intuitive eroticism or relationship of a very silent and sacred kind between human beings and the things of the natural world. In my friend's case, in Amy's case, when the stone's life has spoken sufficiently for her to understand its desire, in order to hear it with greater intimacy, she often encloses the stone in her hand and shuts it. She either replaces the stone where she first spotted it, quote, because it wants to stay with its family, she says, or she holds it a while longer, listening, before placing it in her pocket and taking it home to join its brother and sister stones on her stone shrine. I've seen this shrine, and it is reverently and beautifully made. I'd like to end simply by saying, Amy-chan, you have made a shrine of our hearts, a shrine to honor the world, a shrine to honor love, a shrine to honor all that's good. And because you've made it with your true heart and your poetry, it is beautifully and reverently made. Our Amy, thank you again for letting me be part of this celebration of this beautiful woman. I'm sorry I can't be there. I'm far away right now in another part of the world. Be well, everyone. Keep well.
Thank you, Peter. Our next poet up has been toured California campuses with Amy and they were a part of a poetry collective called Cantaluz, and actually another one of their partners here is Gloria as well. But folks, Pam Ward is a lot of fun. You're gonna love Pam Ward. LA native Pam Ward released her book of poetry, Between Good Men and No Man at All, from World Stage Press. She's published 2 novels, Want Some, Get Some, and Bad Girls Burn Slow. A UCLA graduate, a recipient of California Arts Council Fellow, a Pushcart Poetry nominee, Pam is published in Voices of Leimert Park, Calyx, and the LA Times. She's currently working on a novel about the jazz of Central Avenue and the Black Dahlia murder. And that actually happened just a few blocks away from where Pam grew up. Pam is really LA, and I cannot think of 2 women poets more LA than Pam Ward and Amy. So, and also recently Pam and I did an event in downtown LA and the grand performances, and we stopped and had a moment of silence for Amy before. So please, folks, please give it up for Miss Pam Ward.
So I'm from LA, and I remember on Crenshaw Boulevard by Hollywood, Holiday Bowl, right? Holiday Bowl, let's give it to that. We went to the Nisei Festival every year, and people don't realize in this city, because it seems all crazy and divided, but black folks and the Japanese were like this, man. I mean, we hung out, we did parties, we had cars, I mean, the clothes and everything. And so when Amy and I hooked up and we formed Cantaluz with Gloria and Wendy and Nancy, we wanted to show Los Angeles what it used to be like and what it could be like. And so I'm going to read her poems, but while I was sitting there, I wrote a quick haiku because the Uyematsu flowers are at the Descanso Gardens, and you know, they got those cheap. You know what they did. You know how they do us sometimes. But anyway, so this is called Uyematsu Flowers Know the Truth. Camellias lean from white farmers who stroke their stems. We know who you are. Thank you. I had more drama with it when I was at my seat, but anyway. This is Amy's poem, How My Grandson Watches the Sky, and I know the grandkids are here, so this is for you, for Tyler specifically. Not even 6, he already loves to climb up through the sky in a roller coaster ride. His favorite movie is Planes, and lucky boy, he's flown to Hawaii and London. At the Science Museum, he listens to how stars come from clouds of dust and gas. He even sees a real rocket ship, eyes glued to videos where it blasts into space. There's a game we invent where we take turns naming something bigger than the last. We go from speck of dirt to a bug or flower or tree, house, city, country. After planet Earth, the sun, solar system, galaxy, he stops at the universe. As we play over and over, always ending with universe, he grins with delight at the very idea. Yes. And this poem Raoul gave to me, and I just came back from France, and this is a tribute to Amy Uyematsu by the French translate group Passages at the University of Bordeaux. They translated this, many of Amy's work into French. Tribute to Amy Uyematsu. You are a purple iris in the breeze, the color you choose, as you did the stone and the fish and poetry. Like the painter you admire, a touch of yellow in a starry night. You cherish the art of balancing stones, charmed by the mystery at the heart of their gravity. As a poet walking on a tightrope of syllables, you have captivity, have wonder. A passion flower tells you about infinity. Time is you, mathematically relative. You praise your grandfather for his nurseryman's artistry. In growing plants, you love dancing cha-cha and eventually get a kick at Zumba-crazed grandma with bad knees. Did you finally ride your yellow dragon? You denounce intolerance, injustice, and defend the weak and deprived. You share the meaning of shikatagani, make the best of what cannot be changed, and you adopt the talent of Indio, the fine art of speaking through silences. What is left us in this moment of awe and yet enduring celebration with those gathered by their love of you? We, a bunch of French translators, united by our inordinate love of your poetry and reduced to borrow your words and colors to praise you, to thank you for your gifts to us, your friendship and your trust. We're grateful for your light, peace, generosity, your beautiful harmony, and your sense, and your new send of eternity. May your words keep resonating in our language as in yours through the echoing silence of a restful garden bathed by ocean. Thank you very much.
Someone was a little taller. Maybe a bit. That's a little too tall. Okay, thank you, Pam, for reminding us of our unity with many other communities, and also the fact that Amy's influence was not just here, but all over, and especially from the French translators who sent that remembrance to Raoul. We did change the order of the program because I made a mistake earlier, so we are now going to do the slideshow. Those of you that are paying attention to the order may have noticed that. The slideshow that we're going to show is created by the wonderful Scott Nagatani, musician, who didn't know Amy, but got to know her by working on this slideshow, and was so taken by the stories that he heard from Lynn Taisei, her best friend, and from the poems that he read, that he actually put one of her lullabies to music and had a singer sing the words. If you want to follow along with the nursery rhyme, it is in the book that you have, the program booklet, and it is opposite the tribute from the French translators. So we're going to show there is no page number, Raoul, but it just says Dear Amy on one side and nursery rhyme on the other. So we'll have the slideshow now. And the singer that is singing is Miko Shudo.
give you love that lasts forever, and a promise to be near each time you call. And the only heart I own is for you and you alone. That's all. That's all. I can only give you country walks in the springtime, and a hand to hold when leaves begin to fall, and a love whose burning light will warm the winter night. That's all. That's all. That's is what we like to play. Yeah, yeah. All day, all day, all day, to soothe your soul. Yeah. Down at the beach or party in town, making love or just riding around to soothe your mind. Yeah. Down at the beach or party in town, making love or just riding around is what we like to play. Go to the park, rolling in the grass till long after dark. Down at the beach or party in town, making love or just riding around. Let's have a picnic. Go to the park.
soar the sky, you know. The stars will sing a song for you. Ne-ne-yo.
We come together on a special day. Sing our message loud and clear. Looking back, we've touched on sorrowful days. Wow. Future past, they disappear. You will find it's a yeah. You look way down in your heart and soul. I don't hesitate, 'cause the world seems cold. Stay young at heart. 'Cause you never, 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 That's the way of the world. Plant your flower, and you grow. Child is born with a heart of gold. Of the world, plant your flowers. His heart so cold. This evening, y'all. So,
I almost think we need a moment after that slideshow, but Scott did such a great job, and again, want to mention Miko Shudo, who sang the poem, the lullaby, and I think it just her love of her family, and especially her grandsons. This is a hard one to follow. We have a collective poem that we're going to read, and okay. The Women Word Warriors, or WOW, plus Amy's bestie, Lynn Taisei, are going to read a collective poem. Though group WOW started in 2015, it was Amy's poetry group that she taught and met regularly, even through the pandemic via Zoom. And when Amy was sick, she encouraged the group to meet without her. And we tried our best. We did meet. Tracy Katakiriyama helped us put this together by offering prompts about things that we loved about Amy, things that Amy said to us, and what she loved. So I'm going to call the collective, the word group up here. Janice Yen, Keiko Mia, Lynn Taisi is coming up, and Nina Chan, and myself. Amy says, a poet is both mother and father.
Writing with her always felt safe, no matter how unpolished her work might be. She was so open you would never be afraid to share it. She never pushed, gave guidance and small suggestions, always told you what she liked and was generous with her compliments.
She would tell me gently, there's another poem in there, write some more.
She was always patient with us, even as we, her students, veered astray from the writing assignment, as we often did.
She remembered birthdays, sending us a special card with her own design, a hug and a big kanpai.
Amy's open heart and unwavering support were two qualities that made you know that you were in the company of someone who cared deeply and unconditionally.
Amy says, poets are mad. I tell you, mad. My teacher tells us to fill the sky with so many poems, there won't be room for bombs.
Purple was her color, a hue that reflected her spirit and that she surrounded herself with, from irises and orchids to her socks and bridesmaids' dresses.
Amy had a keen sense of historical wrongs. She wrote, "Slaughter and plunder, slavery and prison camps. Ask any native or dark-skinned victims the price of not being white."
Amy loved discussing politics, had an insatiable desire to know what was going on in Little Tokyo and beyond.
She could make you feel gritty and motivated or content and peaceful.
Amy says, I teach math for a living. I write poems to survive. Both train me to cultivate the empty field.
Amy found beauty in patterns and numbers, seeing how certain numbers would show up in her life, like 47 and its reverse, 74. She was born in 1947, her son in 1974. The year she turned 74, her son turned 47.
She loves Sudoku, and so do I. I was often tempted to ask her to share some of her hints and secrets in solving them, but I was too ashamed to ask.
A blackjack player at heart, she found joy in the game, where strategy, mathematics, and luck intertwined.
I admired her knowledge of math. She used it to make a living and helped to shape her poetry.
Each week with Amy was a lovely collection of little vignettes to create from our minds, our senses, our feelings.
She would tell us to walk outside.
Write things by hand.
Write about what you know.
Observe what is around you.
Amy and I loved just hanging out and talking about small things.
A plain bowl of white rice and Japanese pickles.
TV shows like A Million Little Things and America's Got Talent.
Being called Gum Gum by grandsons who could not pronounce grandma.
Amy had a traveler's soul that took her on many adventures in Portugal, Brazil, Cuba, and Spain.
Glimpses of romance, dancing, and music.
The Galapagos Islands, Machu Picchu.
Beautiful images of nature and the ocean.
China, Tibet, and Japan.
Her love of stones. She said, "And I have long called myself a stone lover, somehow knowing my unfinished story is also carried in the wordless stones that fill my path."
Amy could say so much with so little.
We thank you, Amy.
We shared a history. My father worked for your grandfather in the 1930s. I will take with me your smile, your humility, your flexibility, your tenacity, your courage.
You always made me feel welcome. You told me how you appreciated my perspective. It always felt special when my words captured an image you liked. What I loved about you. You were humble, you were so interesting, so cultured, not just in your own heritage, but others too. Amy, you were kind and incredibly thoughtful. You had a hard time with origami, but tried anyways. Thank you. You taught me to embrace my heritage.
Amy, you told me to write about what we know, to think about my family history and my long journey of activism in Little Tokyo. I'll always think about your quiet sense of humor. You're urging us to journal more for reflections, observations, and new poems, and the camellias at Descanso Gardens and their Uyematsu legacy. You contributed so much through writing, mentorship of students, and your willingness to speak truth to power.
Thank you for being the big sister I lost. Sharing advice and trusting each other with our dilemmas, I will remember your grounded presence and steadiness, yet how surprisingly nervous you were around technology. Your deep sensitivity to people's feelings, often agonizing over how to handle a situation. Always responding to a message, no matter how short or inconsequential the message may have been.
Amy, you and I could talk for hours about our dreams, our plans, weighing life choices. Our friendship based on honesty, sincerity, and trust.
You had the ability to find humor and the silver lining in situations, sharing laughs together. The history we built is a testament not only to our friendship, but to the supportive, thoughtful, and powerful person you are. You are a forever friend. Thank you.
Please keep it going for Kathy, Nina, Keiko, Lynn, and Janice. We're about to bring up a really talented musician who played with Amy on 5 of 6 of her book parties. Taiji Miyagawa is a third-generation Japanese-American bassist who has worked with such groups as Russell Baba, Nobuko Miyamoto, and the jazz band Hiroshima. He currently co-facilitates the Nikkei Music Reclamation Project. He's the bassist for the Crenshaw Bass Quartet. He's done a lot of great work. Please give it up for Taiji, folks. Taiji Miyagawa.
What torture to come up here to honor a great writer. Don't even have my instrument with me. Amazing words. Altar of our hearts. What am I supposed to say after that? Except thank you, Amy. I was telling some friends and family earlier about how it seems like part of the price of sticking around in the world. I'm a new member of the Medicare Club. Just turned 65 this year, so I'm younger, than Amy was. But I know I don't have much time, so I will say that even though we lose loved ones, family members, really close friends, best friends, people that are close to you, as an artist, and me being a musician, to lose another amazing collaborator like Amy is a dimension to it that's pretty difficult, because it's same thing with the finality of somebody leaving just on any interpersonal relationships you have with them. It's not something that can be replaced, really. You have memories. Thank God for the books. I was telling Korean, it's so amazing because we knew her. And the fact that she has her poetry printed, and because you knew her, you hear her voice reading, right? And you feel her the same way you felt her when you're reading those words. It's like magic, right? So thank you also UCLA, friends at UCLA, for housing her collection. What a blessing it is to have friends over there that recognize the importance of this important writer. I really appreciate everything. Thanks for the museum and especially the family and the committee who put this together. Amy knew, as everybody that's read her poetry, she knew about all of the process of creativity with the arts, the universe, the world, Mother Nature, and all that stuff. And you can see it in the title of some of her books and in her poetry. She was tuned into that indigenous vibe, right? Like, she loved music, entertainment type music, but I'm really grateful because she also understood what I was trying to do in terms of music as an art, a creative form, where you're exploring things in the same way that poets do, but just through a different medium. And it wasn't easy to try to come up with stuff to work on her poetry book launch parties, but the experience was really amazing, to develop the friendship and collaboration, bounce ideas around. And she knew about those elements of music that go beyond just the sound of the instruments, but the whole idea of nature's time, the pacing that Mother Nature does to continually regenerating and bring forth new life. And it was so great to be able to work with somebody that understood that on a very deep level. Thank you. I have no idea what this video is, but that's my piece. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Karen and the UCLA Asian American Studies Center, VCA, for having us here today to help launch this new book. And special thanks to my friend Taiji here. Taiji has accompanied me at many poetry readings. He's been with every book that came out. He's been with me. And so it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of just an expected thing now. I'm going to talk a bit, this will be kind of like my story. Just to set a background for all this. This year we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Asian American Studies at UCLA. I was really lucky to be in that first class taught by Yuji. And Mike, I think you were TA? Yeah. I was really, really lucky, and you talk about life-changing experiences. Yuji taught it. This was when the class was titled Orientals in America. In American hadn't even become such a term yet. So we all know what exciting times we were a part of. I mean, I really feel lucky to have grown up in that. And so even though it makes us sound kind of old, at the same time, we were lucky to have experienced what we experienced. Protest revolution were going on not just here but all over the world at that time, and it had a big impact on the movements here. The two huge movements were the civil rights and anti-war movements. So much was going on, everything from burning draft cards to hippies and the love generation, reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, as well as Sisterhood is Powerful. Shutting down campuses like San Francisco State in '68 and '69 with the Third World Liberation Front demanding more relevant education for people of color. What is now recognized as the Asian American movement was just starting to emerge in those years on college campuses, in Chinatowns and Little Tokyos, at the International Hotel in San Francisco's Manila town. At marches and rallies, we started to make demands for yellow power. Black power was already a familiar concept, and it was soon followed by calls for yellow, black, and red power. The women's movement was also growing, with one of the earliest classes at the center being the Asian women's class that Mei Chen and Karen Ito taught. So I thought for my first two poems, I'm going to do Yellow Power and something about women's lib. And they're very short and they rhyme. I don't usually do that, but they're short, they rhyme. And here we go. Yellow Power, circa 1969. When militant is the only way to guarantee we can have our say, yellow and red, brown and black, the times are ripe for us to strike back. Malcolm, Mao, and Ho Chi Minh, beacons for our revolution. Change will ferment in that furious hour as history is witness to yellow power. And then this women's lib. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. And then women's lib, Asian American style, has a little quote from a song that was upsetting to a lot of us women. It's a quote from David Bowie's China Girl, done in 1983, where he goes, "Oh, oh, 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 little China girl." I used to be called Oriental, equal parts Susie Wong, Japanese pearl, China doll, and geisha girl. I admit, I I've been raised to nod and smile, but no way in hell was I ever going to grovel as your beaming ornamental. Never again, your servile, oh so exotic, erotic yellow jewel. Okay, so last year I wrote a poem around the idea of what's become normal in America. The new normal, right? And our new normal includes gun violence in our public schools, people who can't afford housing or health care, white supremacists who march with torches and chant anti-Jewish slogans. That's our new normal. So I called the poem As American As. I'm going to be reading from the third section. And in this section, I talk about the Black Panther Party, which was one of the leading groups of the civil rights struggles of the 60s. It inspired many of us in the Asian American movement. President's Day weekend, 2018. Black Panther, the new Marvel comic film, breaking records for ticket sales. Many young fans, too young to know about the Black Panthers of my generation. It's the same feeling of ethnic pride as 50 years ago, when Oakland Black Panthers served free breakfast to children. 2 '68 Olympics medal winners gave the Black Power salute. And we sang with James Brown, I'm black and I'm proud, even if we weren't black. Revolutionary change, the new normal then, let it remain the new normal now, with Black Lives Matter, NFL players on bended knee, women's marches from coast to coast, high school students demanding anti-gun laws. 50 years ago when Martin was killed, who could imagine we'd elect Barack Obama just 4 decades later? Hip-hop music and dance would be global staples. Claudine Rankin's Citizen, the only poetry bestseller. Superheroes are nothing new in the struggle. Only this time, a Disney movie is giving every boy and girl, young and old, that big screen sensation of fighting for justice, as normal as Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman, on and on. Let us bridge the generations and remind all who listen that it only takes one woman sitting on a bus to inspire hundreds, one farm worker, one union activist, one parent to build a movement based on the power of the people. Yeah.
Amy is both a hard act to follow, but also one that we must follow too. We didn't introduce the many family members. Thank you to all of you that are here today, but I just want to point out that Chris, her son, grandson, wife Corrine is here, and Raul at this table. And many, many, many family members are here at the different tables, at Raul's family, Amy's family. So during the reception, we hope that you'll meet them all, Chris and the kids. All of the people here are friends, and love Amy. So thank you all for coming, and I want to give some thank yous to people that are not in the program. There is an acknowledgement, but we had a lot of people helping out, in different ways as last minute things came up. I want to thank Jude Narita for coming in, for helping us with the stage management, and UCLA Asian American Studies provided some flowers, as well as Yvonne Nisho, who's taking care of her husband Alan, but managed to make some flower arrangements as well. Miko Shudo, who sang on the video slideshow, Jenny Chimori, who helped with the flowers, my son Dan, who did a little bit of editing, Steve Nagano, who helped with the slides that you'll see later. Amy took some beautiful photos of nature, and we'll be showing that during the reception period.
We also want to thank Jeffrey Perlman, Evan Kodani, and Joy Yamaguchi. And also I want to deliver a thanks from Tracy Kato Kiriyama, who was supposed to be here with us, but as we said earlier, she has COVID. But Tracy was speaking to me earlier and was saying that thank you to Amy for just a lifetime of inspiration. When Tracy has to write a poem about family, she reads Amy. When Tracy has to write a poem about politics, she reads Amy. When she wants to write a poem about flowers and California flora and fauna, she reads Amy. And so Amy just has a towering poetic presence, but also Tracy and I were talking about, she taught us both how to be better, just how to be a better human, how to be a family person, how to represent your family, how to be selfless, just completely about the community and about her family and putting them first. And so we wanted to send that from Tracy in regards to Amy. And also we wanted to invite Chris up. Chris, please folks, give a big hand for her son, Chris.
Hey everybody. For those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm Chris. I'm Amy's son. Thank you for those of you who have come up to me earlier today. It's really nice sort of putting a face to the name of so many of you that my mom has spoken about over the years. And if we haven't had a chance to meet, please come up to me and all of our family kind of afterwards. But on behalf of Roll, myself, my wife Corrine, my sons Tyler and Mason, we really want to thank all of you for coming here today. I want to give a special thanks to some of the more senior members of my mom's family that are here today. On her father's side, my great aunt Mare is here, which is fantastic. She came quite a while. And on her mother's side, my great aunt Helen and my great uncle Ron are here. So it's really special that you could be here with us. Today has just been really moving, and sorry. It's been a special tribute for my mom. You know, she didn't even really want a service, and you know, funny enough, one of the reasons she didn't want a service is because she didn't think there'd be much interest in people showing up to memorialize her, and you know, I hope she sees all of this and how much love there is in this room for her. So, you know, but that was my mom. You know, she was a humble person. She just wouldn't have expected this. So, you know, but thank you all for being here. Many of you know my mom is a poet, obviously, or an activist. But something you probably don't know is that her childhood dream, she wanted to be a fashion designer. So she kind of strayed from that. Later on, she entertained working in computers. But you know, back then, women really weren't encouraged to sort of pursue the things that they were interested in. And her father had kind of pushed her into being a teacher. So my mom was a Los Angeles Unified School District teacher for 32 years. And you know, in a way, it was really the ideal job for her. You know, she taught math and poetry to thousands of students and found it deeply rewarding. I was always blown away by how poised and strong a presenter my mom was whenever she did a poetry reading to a large gathering. But you know, if you think about it, there really isn't a tougher audience than an overpacked class of teenagers sitting in a math class that they don't want to be in. So she honed her ability to captivate an audience and speak in front of a tough crowd. And you know, even I recall there was one time when a student brought a gun into her classroom, And, being the concerned son I was, I encouraged her to sort of seek out a teaching gig at a private school or somewhere safer. And she remained steadfast in her dedication to, teaching the students that she was teaching. And so, I think there are a lot of young people out there who are all the better for having my mom as a teacher. I know my mom loved me deeply, but this actually paled in comparison to the joy she evoked when her two grandsons, Tyler and Mason, were born. She was an amazing grandma and encouraged a certain amount of creativity in my boys that only she could. It really pains me that she's not going to be able to see them grow up and become men, but there is part of her that is embedded in both of them that will help them in life, much as she has guided me in my life. My mom didn't want a memorial, but she was open to a celebration of life. And so we'd like to invite everyone to sort of hang out for a while and sort of celebrate my mom. We have bentos from a nearby restaurant, Aze, which was packed with items that my mom particularly enjoyed. I think there's a pork and chicken bento and a fish bento and a very limited number of vegetarian bentos, so please save those for the vegetarians. But yes, please socialize, fill out a memory card, share stories about my mom, and celebrate her life. So, thank you.
So, as Chris said, there are bentos over on the side, so we hope you're hungry. And I think we'd like to invite the family and the program participants, basically these rows that are in front, to maybe start first, and maybe your table could start first and get the bentos. Can you start us off? Okay. And we're very fortunate to have Scott Nagatani and Taiji perform and play music while we are eating, and we'll be showing some of Amy's photos of nature. So hang on.
Share stories, share food, share hugs. Stick around. Thank you so much. We love you guys. Thank you.